Hi, welcome to Quick Business Tips. I'm Jennifer Swineford, founder of Limitless Impact Agency, and this is the podcast for service-based business owners who want to grow their business without losing the heart behind it. Every week, I'm bringing you real practical strategies on marketing, sales, and customer experience. No fluff, no hustle culture nonsense, just what works. So let's get into it. I'm going to share something with you today that I'm working through right now with a client. They are struggling with something that I see service businesses do on a regular basis, and I want to talk about it while I'm working it through with them because the messy middle is where so many of us live. Now, this company has a sales team, new leads are coming in, and every day the team does exactly what feels logical. They go after the new leads first. And by the time they work through those, the week is pretty much gone. And so the old leads, these are the ones who weren't ready to buy right away. They needed time to gather more proposals, figure out funding for a project. Those leads just kind of sit there and get a little colder and a little colder. And eventually they're so cold that they've chosen somebody else. Then they also have a whole database of past clients who already trust them and would buy again if someone just reached out and gave them a reason to think about this company. But nobody's doing that. And I understand the logic behind this. New leads feel urgent, and old leads feel optional, maybe even like a waste of time. But I promise you, what feels right is really backwards. We're going through an economic time where new lead flow is tightening up, and every client relationship has a real dollar value. And the mistake that grows and kind of has a snowball effect, but really quietly, is that you start ignoring your past leads and your past clients until it becomes a revenue problem that nobody even knew was creeping up on them. So today I want to talk about why retention and renewals beat the new leads almost every time and what is structurally causing a service-based business to get this backwards in almost every situation. And I'm going to give you some steps so you can start breaking this habit, even if you don't have a strong CRM and your budget is tight. So first, let's go into what's happening in a little bit more detail, because I think it's worth understanding why this happens in business, not just accept the fact that it does. So when a new lead comes in, there's all this energy that's surrounding it. Someone raised their hand. They are fresh, they are engaged, they're in the window where interest is high and the chance of conversion feels like it's right there. And following up on a new lead feels productive. It feels like you are working towards a goal. Going back to a lead that you talked to 90 days ago, who said, I need to talk to my wife and then never reached out again, kind of feels like a long shot. It feels like you're chasing the clients instead of letting them come to you. And when your sales team gets paid on commission, there's no internal pressure to prioritize that old lead list. So new leads get all the attention, and the old leads oftentimes get forgotten. Then there's the past clients, and they don't ever get reached out to. But here's the problem. A brand new lead is like starting from zero. You haven't built any trust with them. There's no established relationship, and there's no reason for them to choose you over anyone else at that first moment that you have the lead. So when you think about converting a cold lead, it's really hard. It takes time. It takes multiple touch points and a lot of energy has to go into it. But an old lead who you've already invested time into and they said they're not ready yet, they know who you are. They've shown interest. You're not starting from zero. You've already invested time and money. And then we have the past clients. They're nowhere near starting from zero. The trust is already there. The relationship is real. And they just need to go from, I should reach out to, I'm going to call them right now. But if you're only spending most of your energy on the brand new leads, the ones who are the most difficult to convert, there's no energy left for those past clients who should be the easiest ones to convert. This is not a problem with your sales team. This is simply a priority problem. So here's what I'm doing as I work through this with my client. Now, quick reminder, we are in the middle of this. So I don't have any dramatic results story that I'm going to share with you in this episode. We're going through this in a progression, and I think it's worth sharing now. So the first thing that we did was that we got clear on the problem. Their sales team thought they needed more leads. We had a meeting and we all agreed that they don't need more leads. They need to stop losing their old leads and they need to get reactivation from past clients. And reframing it that way is important because if the sales team continues to believe that they need more leads, then, and the owner agrees, everyone on the marketing team agrees, then what you do is you spend more marketing money on ads, you do more outreach, you might do more cold calling, more expos and conferences. All of your effort gets pointed at the leads that are the most difficult to convert. But if the entire team, the owners, the marketing, everyone agrees that we're not working the warm relationships we already have, then the action plan is completely different. Now we're blocking off time on calendars. We're creating some short emails that can get sent out. And we're making a lot of phone calls to people we've already talked to. So, first thing we need to do, figure out what the problem really is. And the next thing that I did with this client is we started creating time that was protected on their calendar. Now, this seems really simple, but it's really difficult to get a sales team to block out chunks of time every week because they want to be completely available for the new leads that are coming in. But if they don't block out the time, then we get to the end of the week and there's no time left for the old leads and the past clients. And now I'm not saying that we block out an entire day. I'm asking for an hour or two to be non-negotiable, protected time where new leads and other office to-dos cannot suck up that time. This has to be protected time on their calendar where they only spend it reaching out to older leads and past clients. And the last thing we've been doing for a couple months now, not super complicated, but we're sending out a few touch points to just sort of check in and add value to those past clients. It's a way to quietly remind those people about the relationship that they have with this company without being we're running a special, buy it now, don't you have more work for us type of email sequence. Now, in some instances, we are able to create some really great email sequences for some of these older unconverted leads. But with this particular client, they are managing it manually because their CRM, which they like once we get into the job phase of it, but it's not really great pre-sales. Um, it's not set up to do email sequences in the way that it needs to be done for these older leads. And they're not looking to spend the time to train on a new system. They're also not looking to spend money on switching over to a new CRM. So instead of saying, oh, well, we'll manage this when we have a better system, what we're doing right now is going through the old leads, creating a list manually, and using real human contact, doing a lot of phone calls and text messages, not emails, and sort of managing it on a one-by-one personal basis. And I think while it's less scalable, it's incredibly powerful because so many people know what it's like to get that email that you know was not written directly to you. It was sent out to a whole group of people and it's templated and it maybe feels a little dated. And the company's been sending it out for years and years and years. And no one on the sales team has even read it in a while. So I love what this company is doing, even though it feels like they're kind of doing it in a clunky, slightly old-fashioned way. And part of the reason that I love it is because taking that imperfect action immediately is always going to be better than waiting to implement some perfect system down the road. So let's talk about why this matters more right now than it might have 5 or 7 years ago. The economic environment today is making everyone just a little bit cautious. We've got tariffs that we're still dealing with and material costs that are increasing, homeowners that are unsure about interest rates and things like that, businesses that are hesitating to say yes to projects that they would have greenlit 2, 3 years ago. So with this environment, new leads are not coming in at the rate that maybe they would have a few years ago. And it's a whole lot harder to not only fill that top of the funnel, but also harder to make yourself stand out in all the noise that the people who are looking for new projects to work on are dealing with right now. But what that means is that the leads you already have and the clients you've already sold to, they are worth more to you right now than they've ever been in recent history. Not just in terms of dollars, although that's true, but mostly in terms of the relationship. Because a person who already trusts you is far more likely to move forward on a project, even with economic uncertainty, price increases, and things like that, because they don't feel like they're gambling on someone new. They feel like they already know what they're getting into with you because they've done a project with you in the past. And the old lead who said that they weren't ready 6 months ago might be ready to say yes this month. Not because something has changed in their financial situation, but because the project didn't go away, which means the pain didn't go away. All you have to do is be the right person to check in with them at the right time and to do it in a way that's not, are you ready to buy yet? But more of this personal interest, relationship building type of process. Because timing matters. And you are the only one that can control whether or not you are having a conversation with the person when the timing aligns. So if you're going to go 6 months without talking to someone, you might not be top of mind when they're ready to say yes. But if you're checking in once a month, you will probably be the person that they think of first when they are ready to move forward. So let's switch angles and look at this a little more practically. If you have a CRM, go look at it right now. Pull up every lead that didn't say yes in the last 6 to 12 months. Now, I'm not saying pull up the leads that said no and decided they were going to go with somebody else. But the ones who said, not yet, maybe later, let me check with my wife, and then they kind of ghosted you. Because that list, they're not dead. They've just gone dormant. So what I want you to do is pick 5 of those people and reach out to them this week. I don't want you to pitch them. I want you to do a check-in. Say, hey, it's been a while. How are things going with that project that you were thinking about? These are 5 phone calls, real conversations to see what is still active, what is still not a no. And then I want you to do the same for the clients who have used you in the past, but not like finished a job with you last month. Pick 3 of the people who you haven't talked to in about 6 months or more. Reach out with 0 agenda. Just reach out and say, hey, I was thinking about you and that project that we did. How are things going? Now, if you don't have any kind of CRM or spreadsheet or database of some kind, you need to go through your emails and your text messages, your phone contacts, if you're the kind of person that saves these things in your contact list. Go through every conversation that you've had in the last year that did not end with a signed contract, and then go through every conversation where you closed a job, but you haven't talked to them in 6 months. And you're going to start your own spreadsheet or database and work from that list. 5 older leads every week and 3 past clients. You don't need a fancy piece of software to get this done. You just need to set your intention and block a couple hours a week on your calendar. Here's what I keep telling the client that I'm currently working with. You don't need a perfect system to start. You just need to start. And after you've started, we can start building a system to catch up and to make it a little bit more easy and scalable for you in the future. So right now I want to close with a little extra honesty. I'm sharing with you this episode as I'm working with this client in real time before the story is finished. Because I think there's a value in seeing that not everything gets tied up with a pretty little bow and an amazing result. Most of the case studies, examples that people share on social media, podcasts, blogs, have wonderful resolutions, a fantastic before and after. But for most of us, we're living in the messy middle most of the time. We're working through one problem or another that doesn't have a resolution yet. We're building something without knowing exactly how it's going to turn out in the end. And that's okay. Because when you're doing the work, you don't need to know how the story is going to end. You just need to show up and do the next right thing that builds on top of what you have going on right now. For my client right now, they are learning to protect, block out time in their calendar, and do an old-fashioned manual outreach list. For you, it might be a little bit of the same, or maybe it's building a more planned out CRM. Wherever you are, start there, because once you start, I guarantee you the results will follow. They always do. And if you get nothing else from this episode, stop ignoring the relationships you've already built, the time you've already invested in people and clients and leads and projects. Go back to them so that time that you have invested isn't wasted time. And if you want some help thinking through your own retention and reactivation strategy for your business, one that is able to work with whatever systems you have now and doesn't require a huge budget, that's the kind of work I love doing at Limitless Impact Agency. You can schedule a free strategy session using the link in the show notes below or going to limitlessimpactagency.com. If something landed for you today, I would be so appreciative if you'd share this episode with one person in your world who needs to hear it, because that's how this show will grow. And I am so grateful for every single share that is made. If you're ready to take what you learned today and put it into work to grow your business, I would absolutely love to talk to you. You can use the link in the show notes or visit limitlessimpactagency.com to schedule your free strategy session. We'll figure out exactly where you need to focus first. But until next week, go do something amazing.